Hello everyone, and welcome to Team 4's Graduate Capstone Project. This is a white paper presentation by Joe Kennedy, Sri Deshpande, Tanner Hughes, and Caleb Knight. Our corresponding white paper presentation includes information from our team written report, which details our recommendations for implementing new and improved password policies and procedures at my University of Georgia. Recently, the Chief Information Officer of my University of Georgia has tasked our information technology team with the great honor and challenge of investigating and examining the existing institutional IT policies and procedures so that we may incorporate our skills, knowledge, and research to create an innovative recommendation for new and improved policies and procedures regarding campus password security. While examining our research, remember that our team has combined the most efficient, effective, and innovative recommendations for my University of Georgia. The objectives and purpose of this study includes investigating and examining the current authentication policies at my University of Georgia, recommending new and improved policies based on our knowledge and research and industry best practices, providing recommendations concerning security methods that are closely associated with user passwords, such as user-based roles, multi-factor authentication, and single sign-on, and presenting the findings and recommendations to the executive leadership. Lack of proper access controls, such as authentication and authorization, can put an organization at risk. Those risks include, but are not limited to, financial loss, reputation damage, loss of information, and decreased privacy. Once a system has been breached or compromised, the short and long-term effects may be detrimental to an organization. Designing password policies with strong authentication mechanisms is important to avoid such an impact to an organization. My University of Georgia has designed a password policy that applies to staff, students, and faculty. This paper reviews this policy, identifies the areas of weakness in the policy, and provides recommendations to strengthen the policy. The Board of Regents recognizes information created, collected, or distributed using technology by the University System of Georgia organizations is a valuable asset and must be protected from unauthorized disclosure, modification, or destruction. The university is now acknowledged by the National Security Agency and the Department of Homeland Security as a center for academic excellence in cyber defense education. With these exceptionally high standards comes many responsibilities to maintain such excellence. According to a study conducted by Harris Poll in partnership with Google, the average American has 27 online accounts that require passwords. 72% of the poll's participants reuse their passwords for various websites, and 69% of the poll's participants admit to sharing passwords with colleagues. Many sophisticated tools are available to hackers to guess these passwords, with many of these tools being either free or easy to access by hackers. The table on the right shows the time to guess the passwords using a dictionary attack or a brute force method. If the user's password is a dictionary word or is 8 characters or less containing only letters, hackers can guess the password in under a second. If a password has 8 characters, depending on what set of characters are used, whether it is alphanumeric characters or characters from all parts of the keyboard, the time to guess the password ranges from 3.5 minutes up to 2 hours. If a password contains 12 or more alphanumeric characters, it will take at least 96 years, if not more, for a hacker to guess the password. Simply put, the longer and more complex the password, the longer it will take for hackers to guess said password. Authentication can be classified into three categories: something you know, something you have, and something you are. The something you know category includes things like passwords and personal identification numbers, more commonly known as PIN numbers. The something you have category includes things like key fobs or a mobile device, such as a cell phone. And finally, the something you are category includes things like your fingerprints, your voice, or Face ID, among other biometrics. Multi-factor authentication is a combination of two or more authentication categories. The one-time passcode is the most common approach for implementing multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication provides an additional layer of security and assures the user's identity by providing proof that the user is who they say they are, instead of them being an imposter posing as a legitimate user. Multi-factor authentication is also compatible with single sign-on solutions and can help an organization achieve regulatory compliance, such as achieving compliance with the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, or PCI-DSS. The use of single sign-on greatly reduces the friction and the use of passwords in a user's experience. Single sign-on provides users with a seamless transition from one application to another. It also makes use of multiple or robust means of authenticating a user and granting access to university systems. Single sign-on solutions can also be combined with any multi-factor authentication methods implemented in an organization. Password managers can generate strong and complex passwords and allows users to store passwords securely, eliminating the need for them to remember their complex passwords. Password managers can be stored either locally on personal computers or they can be stored on the cloud, and password managers can be used across various devices. Password managers are easy to use with various browsers and applications, and some versions of password managers even allow users to store their security question answers. Many users are surprised by the resourcefulness and functionality of password managers. With proper training, a password manager could be a valuable tool that would benefit users with their private accounts. A password manager can help a user's security posture. However, it is not a recommendation for my University of Georgia users to utilize password managers for any information relating to university accounts. The team recommends the creation of a campus web portal for faculty, staff, and students that encompasses most of, or possibly all of, the university's resources, such as email, banner/swords, Georgia View Vista /D2L, Microsoft Office 365 Suite, One USG Connect, and so on. The web portal should be secured with single sign-on and multi-factor authentication protocols. This single sign-on web portal would simplify user access to university services and applications by requiring only a single authentication instance. This allows for quick access to services and applications and reduces the risk of compromised accounts and forgotten passwords due to the reduction of user logons for multiple systems or applications. Please note that the on-premises servers depicted in the diagram below will most likely be in the form of virtual machines and not in the form of physical servers. The user enters their credentials via our web portal login page, which will then send a request token to the on-premises Active Directory Federation Services server. The Azure Active Directory tenant is a cloud-based identity as a service platform. It provides directory services for cloud applications by storing objects copied from the on-premises Active Directory. This Active Directory tenant also provides identity services. An on-premises Active Directory domain services virtual machine server should be synchronized with an instance of Windows Server running Azure Active Directory Connect, which will enable authentication for on-premises users. The Azure Active Directory Connect server is an on-premises virtual machine server running the Azure Active Directory Connect sync service, which synchronizes information held in the on-premises Active Directory to the Azure Active Directory. Any changes made in provisioning or deprovisioning groups and users on premises would propagate to the Azure Active Directory. Azure Active Directory multi-factor authentication is recommended for faculty, staff, and student access into the web portal, and they would all have the following options for multi-factor authentication made available to them. Users could receive a call to their phone. This call would be an automated voice call, and users would simply need to answer this call and press the pound key to authenticate. Users could receive a text message. They will receive a text message that contains a verification code that they must enter. Users could also receive a mobile app notification. The Microsoft Authenticator app can be utilized to send push notifications to the user's phone or registered device. And finally, users could opt for mobile app verification codes or hardware tokens. The Microsoft Authenticator app generates a verification code every 30 seconds. Users simply enter this verification code into the portal sign-in interface. The team recommends that my University of Georgia should create access control policies that clearly communicate the identification of users, access to institutional information systems, user access rights, and special access privileges and restrictions. Access control privileges should be assigned via roles, policies, or attributes wherever possible and practical. User privileges should be assigned to groups of users instead of assigning them to individual users. These roles should be established based on department and job function. These roles should also be reviewed and updated whenever either job or departmental functions change. My University of Georgia currently implies the following password policy. Users' passwords must be at least 8 characters long and must be changed every 365 days. A user's password must not contain their username or any part of their full name, and their passwords must not be reused. A user's password must also contain at least 3 of the following 4 classes of characters: uppercase letters, lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. The current password criteria is acceptable if multi-factor authentication is implemented alongside it. However, the new policy should also provide the ability for single sign-on between various web applications in the university. The policy should contain a section with contact information to use when reporting issues. It is also suggested that the policy contain a separate section with separate contact information for reporting issues to in the case of suspected compromise of the system or of any of its users. The policy wordings should also be changed to help enforce the use of strong passwords. In the new policy, administrators must be required to reset or lock accounts if unusual activity is detected, and an exponential account lock function should be implemented. Since not all personnel will be familiar with information technology terms, the definition section could be updated to include definitions of terms that many common users might not understand. This slide contains the various references that have been used throughout this presentation. And on behalf of Team 4, I wish to thank you for listening and thank you for your time.